Hey, Derek Sheridan from Rustbelt Basketball Coaches Network. This week's information request I thought was really interesting. The question was asked by a young coach from Greentown, Indiana, the Emerald City. Anyway, the coach's question was, how did we teach how to defend backdoor or basket cuts when we employed a lot of man-to-man defense? Well, the answer was, or is, when I coached a lot of man-to-man defense, we were a pack line team, which we had derived all of our pack line stuff from Dick Bennett and Jack Bennett. But to get into this question, let's start off with traditional on the line, up the line, man-to-man defense. So this icon here would be the defensive player. Here is his outside hand. Here is his or her inside hand. And you can see here is the ball line. And in a traditional up and on the line defense, where the defensive player's one pass away from the basketball, are trying to take away east and west or west to east passes. They don't want the ball to be moved this way. So in this position, outside hand, inside hand, and the player will be more for, the icon would be shaped more that way, with his back or his or her back to the basketball. So there's the back of the defensive player. So he or she's outside hand is in the passing lane. Here's the ball line. The ball line's between the ball and the person he or she's guarding. So when this person backdoor cuts or cuts aggressively to the basket, they've got to snap and change. Snap your neck, look the opposite way, and change denial hands and get down here and deny that all the way down here. The one thing both defensive schemes have in common is they never want the cutter to face cut them. So there's our defensive man or girl on and up the ball line, and they're never going to allow the defensive player to face cut them. So let's talk about the positioning now with the pack line defense. This player who's guarding offensive player 2 is going to have his or her back facing the rim or the baseline, whatever suits you better. Here's the ball line. They are one step off of the ball line in what we used to call a flat triangle. And the reasoning behind this change, or difference maybe I should say, between pack line and up and on the line, is this defensive player's number one priority, besides guarding his or her man or girl, is to already be in an early help position to help stop dribble penetration. And really, that was the whole intent behind the resurgence of the pack line defense. His name slips my mind, but there was a famous coach, I believe he was at Oklahoma State, a long, long time ago, who called it the nutshell. And everybody one pass away was in a flat triangle off the ball, which are now commonly referred to as gaps. So they're on gap control or gap patrol. One of my favorite defensive coaches of all time, who I was lucky to work with, Leroy King, called this gap patrol. Whereas on and up the line, back to the ball, inside hand outside hand, inside hand, back to the ball, bisecting the ball line with their feet, outside hand, inside hand. So in the pack line, when a player basket cuts, here would be X2 in a flat triangle. The difference is when 2 cuts, this player, his number one priority is to take away a pass to the offensive player 2. But he or she backpedals down, outside hand, inside hand, and they keep their chest facing this way. And they back down, staying level with the cutter as the cutter goes, and then they sit on them right here when they finish their cut. And the premise behind that is he or she cuts and they backpedal down, inside hand, outside hand. If this person would to dribble, they can still slide over and stop that dribble penetration without having their back to the ball. So basically, it's a matter of your personal preference. What are you trying to do in your man-to-man defense? If you are a coach who wants to make it very difficult to pass the ball to the wing or move the ball east or west to east, then up and on the line is probably going to suit your personality better. If you're more conservative, or you have a team who might not be as fleet of foot or as athletic, and you might have to make an adjustment to where you've got the players who are one pass away in flat triangles or in gap, or as Leroy King would say, gap patrol, to help stop dribble penetration. And hence that's why we chose the pack line. Heck, Coach Bennett was at UWGB back then. And we knew my first head coaching job, we didn't have the athletes to get out and deny in comparison to the schedule we played, by and large. So the pack line fit us better. But I hope that answers your question, because it is quite a difference. And it all boils down to what the philosophy behind or the mean behind what you're trying to accomplish is. But there is definitely a difference between how teams who play up and on the line versus teams who play pack line defend that backdoor or basket cutting action. If you have any questions, send an email to us at rustbeltbasketballcoaches@gmail.com, and we'll help you out. As I've said 100 times, I'll make it 101. If we don't know the answer to it, I'm quite certain we do know someone who does, and we'll refer you to them. Okay? Hey, have a great week. God bless. Stay out of trouble.